Worm. Wake them up. Flat back, round back. Round back. Second prime. Come to the ready. Fire.
Damn.
Yeah. 3, 4. 5. Load with cartridge. Load. Run. Be smaller, Jack. One shot or two. Second prime. Come to the ready. Fire.
All right, now let's try it again. There you go.
All right. Ready? All right, so the first one we have in the rack here is a matchlock musket. It's 75 caliber. This will be what the conquistadors would have carried when they come over, and also the early Spanish, French, and British settlers would have brought these over back in the 1500 era. So basically, you would have a lit match, normally not attached to the gun as it is here, but you'd hold a lit match in your hand, prime the pan, load in some powder,
Right.
put your ball in, of course, scour it on down. Then you would bring it up, reattach your match, get it nice and secure. With the pan closed, you'd line it up and make sure that your match would hit the powder. Then you would open it up, present, and boom. So kind of a crude model. The predecessor to this was the arquebus, which would have been more like a a tube of 6 basically, just a board with a tube tied to it. Same type of mechanism might have been used to ignite. Also with these you would have a musket prop, because these things were so heavy. You many times in battle want to have it supported so that you can hold it all up. It gets nice and heavy over time. The next one that I have in the group here is a 1766 Charleville musket. This is 69 caliber, and this is what the French would have brought over to help us colonials when we were trying to become a country back in 1776, Revolutionary War. So this was the competing rifle with the British, what we now call the Brown Bess. They had a similar model. It's also 69 caliber. This one here, it is not an original, of course. It's a remanufactured. And advancing in time, we come to the Civil War era, and this is a reproduction Enfield, 1853 Enfield. This one's 58 caliber, and the difference is this one is rifled, so it's nice and accurate when you went to shoot. These load in much the same way. Of course, this is a cap lock, so it would have a percussion cap versus the flint of the Charleville and versus the match or the matchlock.
Okay, how about the pistols there?
All right, got a variety of pistols. Some of these are originals, some of them are not. This first one up here, we have a 1873 Marlin 22 caliber pocket revolver. This is an original. They were made from 1873 to 1887. Next to it here, we have a 1850s model 44 caliber boot pistol. These are pretty common, probably made in Belgium, somewhere like that, but they would just hide down in your boot or in a vest pocket, wherever you want to hide it. And behind it is a Moore's 32 caliber teat fire revolver. And this one here, what's different about it, the 22 Marlin is similar to today's rimfire. Well, this one here had a teat fire, and I wish I had a bullet to show you, but you'd open it from the front and slide a shell in from the front side instead of from the rear. Now that shell would be shaped about like my finger is there. It'd be rounded on the back with a little teat on the end of it. So when you slide it in there, you'd see the bullet, or the ball, which would be in there, from the front side. And of course, as the hammer would come down, it would strike that teat that would be on the back side, which had a fulminate in it. That fulminate would ignite the powder and discharge the pistol. Next to it here, we have a 1851 Colt 36 caliber Navy. It's a reproduction. And behind it, we have two Remington 1858 44 caliber New Army Remingtons is what these would be called. One in steel frame and one in brass. Behind it, what some call an 1858 Remington 44 caliber revolving carbine, never was made in 1858. It was made on the pattern of the 1858 Remington. If you look at the center section here, the action, it's almost identical. So that's why some folks call it 1858. It's actually 1866 is when they started making those. It was Remington's answer to the repeating arms, and that was the best they could do at the time, trying to come up with a repeating rifle. Of course, it was out competition, if you will. Other models made them a little better. These were short-lived. They didn't make them for very long. This rack over here, I have a few originals and a few reproductions. Just a generic Kentucky rifle. This one here is made by Pedersoli, 50 caliber. These were first made as flintlocks back in the early 1700s by immigrant gunsmiths from Switzerland and Germany. Percussion cap versions such as this one here started to appear around the 1820s. Around that same time, the Hawking rifle started making its appearance, especially out west in the Rocky Mountain area and on the plains. Some people call them plains rifles. Down below I have three double barrel percussion shotguns. This top one here is kind of special to me. It's a William Moore and Company double percussion. This particular version here, William Moore, was actually used by the Confederacy as cavalry guns. And what they would normally do is cut the barrels down to 18 inches and then had a ring to strap them to themselves. This one here hasn't been converted, so I'm assuming it was never used by the Confederacy. But when I found it, it was in terrible disrepair, so I got it fixed up to the condition it's in now, and I'm proud to own it just because of the relation to the Confederacy. The next one down is a double percussion. This one here is a T.C. Montgomery 12 gauge. It was made in England. They were made there from 1870 to 1895. The reason I was attracted to this one is it's the only percussion hammer that I've seen that has dog heads. You zoom in on that, you can see those are actually dog heads for hammers. The one below, kind of special to me as well. This one here was actually saved from a house in Huntsville up on Montesano Mountain. There was a house being restored, and this gun was actually put in a dumpster over there, and my uncle saved it from that dumpster and asked the people that were cleaning the place out if they cared if he took it, and they said it was garbage, and it looked like garbage at the time. A little cleaning up, a little polish, brought it to looking as nice as it does now. It's non-functioning. The trigger mechanism is broken inside, so the triggers are just hanging. But a nice wall piece, anyhow. It doesn't have any maker's marks. I have no idea who made it. I did send out some pictures on the internet to a couple of gunsmith sites, and they dated it to the 1850s, and also said that all this repair work, this brass inlay repair work, was likely done in the 1920s based on the hardware that they used to repair it with. So I was surprised to find out too that the butt plate and the trigger guard are all made of solid silver. So kind of interesting to me. All right
then, thank you.
Confederates, as the war went on, kept getting smaller and smaller because of the blockades of the southern port. Well, the Confederates in the South in general came up with some substitutes, and this is one. They're not roasted yet, but they're okra seeds.
Really?
Yeah.
Tastes just like
When it's roasted and you boil it,
Yeah.
it tastes like coffee. It's not
have the
caffeine or but it has
Man, Mike, that's the kind of coffee you need. No caffeine.
I found out what they did use over caffeine.
And then in here I've got it in a Ziploc bag because this
Just
is
dry the seeds.
yeah, and this is another coffee substitute. You smell it. Chicory root.
Just grind it up.
Yep. Grind it up, roast it. Chicory just grows wild everywhere on the side of the road.
What is that?
Yeah.
This?
Yeah.
Everybody likes that.
Everybody's asked what this
What
is.
is it?
It's sugar.
Brown sugar.
Brown sugar.
Well, it's sugar. I mean,
Yeah.
there wasn't any such thing as white
Right.
sugar in that time.
They put it in there and harden it.
That does not look like no sugar.
It tastes really good.
Huh.
It's just unprocessed,
Yeah.
unbleached sugar. There's my bullet.
Bullet. Used to find them in my uncle's food. Yeah. Give it a fork.
I like my skillet, but I don't think it's exactly right.
Yeah, it's a hard to eat rice with a fork.
Yeah, I'd say it is. Good thing you had your hands.
Hold that. Got it?
Heavy, ain't it? Yeah, it's heavy.
It's a lot heavier than you think, right?
Tell it's heavy.
That would be like too heavy to carry that out in battles.
That's carrying it every day.
Wasn't a choice.
Weighs about 11 and a half,
And this
12
right
pounds.
here, with bullets in it, it weighed about 4 pounds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a block.
Is
We
it hard to
put
load the
weight in it,
bullets?
you know, and tried that.
Nah, not really. Because black powder fouls up, it's really dirty. After a few shots, it makes it harder and harder to load the bullets. Yeah.
See, that's your bayonet. That's what they use when they run out of bullets. They put
And then, I think that's heavy. Imagine carrying your bed everywhere you went on your back.
Oh my god.
Everything you need.
So how many pounds do you think that is?
That's what I kind of did. This
Probably
is what I
15.
carry
15?
when I go out there now.
Because it's actually, there's a blanket inside here and that blanket, and they weigh probably 4 pounds a piece. And then there's a couple ground cloths, which we have laid out here and there. So those weigh probably 2 pounds each.
They use a halves soldered together.
What's the paper?
Those are cartridges. See that? They would have a mini ball on the end of them.
Yeah.
Of course, these are just blanks,
Yeah, these are just.
but they would have been roughly about that long. And what you do is you tear the paper and pour the powder in, and you take the bullet, ram the bullet in.
Take one of these cartridges over there and see. Yeah. That's what fires the powder.
That's the cap. It goes on the cone of the gun.
You gotta fire the
Hammer
powder
hits, makes a
before
spark, fires the powder.
Oh.
Takes us about a minute, 2 minutes to load, but they said they could do three fires in a minute.
Three rounds a minute.
Well, they had a lot of practice.
You didn't show them your candle holder.
You just give it away.
Oh, shit. You didn't show them your round thing, donut.
Donut maker.
So far, everybody's asked what that is. I've usually had people ask me what this is.
Clean it up so it don't shine.
Of course, I have
And that's an actual
bullets in it, just to keep them in there.
Well, that's pretty cool. Whoa. 2 candles.
Also have-
It's candle holders.
Yeah, that's a round ball. Like
That's what
that
this
musket
is.
right there would have shot a bullet like that, a round ball.
Or a bunch,
Yeah.
Say it would.
or a bunch of little ones.
And that was the ammunition during the Civil War was the reason there were so many wounds, so many amputations, because when that about an ounce lead bullet hit you, it hit a bone and shattered the bone.
Yeah.
If it hit flesh, it just tore it. That was one of the reasons there were so many amputations, so many terrible wounds.
Hey, how you doing, sir? All right, then. You gonna explain some of this stuff for me here? Or You gonna explain some of this stuff for me?
Sure. I don't have all my stuff out here. This. This is just a gum blanket that a particular group, they would either, when they went to camp, they would either do a what we call a garrison or campaign. We like to use campaign, which means, because most of the time the Confederates were on the run, so we just throw this down, our blanket down, and we just sleep on the ground underneath some trees or whatever. Campaign style would be, garrison would be with all the tents. A lot of times, we would do that. Now that's what this is, and then your blanket, which you would wrap around, and that's why you see the soldiers carrying it like this. This is a canteen, but it's also my place. And this is what we call a shell jacket, and this is Confederates toward the end of the war wore a lot of shell jackets. At the beginning, they had what they call a frock coat. This was at the beginning of the war. They wore a lot of these. And then Columbus, this is what a Columbus Depot is. So that's when they started getting that. There's my utensils, a toothbrush, a candle, a pipe. This is just some Confederate money that I have. And this is what you would carry. This is your bag where you would carry all your stuff in.
So what kind of stuff do you have in that bag?
This stuff here.
Oh, this stuff here.
And most of the time, any food that you could get around. Usually it was full more with food than anything else. A lot at the beginning, you know, they would give them a lot of extra clothing, but it was too hard to carry. So eventually they threw that out and made that more or less for food. That's what you need. That's what you need because you live on your stomach. So this is what you call a cartridge box. This is the leathers. And what you do is, this you wear like this. The cartridge box is right here. This is in the back, and your bayonet's over here. And what you would do, this is a round, and now this, we don't have them, but this would be the live round in here.
Mm-hmm.
And what you would do is, when they say load, you would tear this off, put it in here, and then put the round in there, and then you would bring this out and ram it in. There's a whole procedure to doing that. They call it load 9 time. And then you bring it back, and you bring this back, and you put it where that little thing right here, that's a cap. There's a cap on there that you would put on here, and then they would say aim, and then you fire. So, and then you would either fire, depends, you have to listen to your officers. Sometimes when there's a ton of companies, they would say company, you know, fire by company. So this company would fire, the next one fire, the next one would fire. If they say battalion fire, then everybody fires at once. Usually after that first round, then it's like fire at will. And that means they're coming and you just fire as fast as you can. Now they said that most of the guys, some of the guys could do 3 rounds in a minute. And that is, especially in the heat of the battle, this gets hot. And it starts to get gummed up down here too. So it's hard. I don't know how they did it. And again, at the beginning of the war, the Confederates were not as impoverished as you think. They were supplied some meat. It was just toward the end of the war that they started, you know, when it started to turn, especially after Vicksburg and the Mississippi was cut off. That was kind of the beginning of the end, because they couldn't feed the soldiers, and you got to feed the soldiers. Yeah, because they travel on their stomach. So basically, there is a ton of stuff that they did carry, but again, toward the end of the war, basically used that for food, food and anything. And sometimes what you could scrounge up, you know, to trade for money, or a lot of them, like when they were, like sometimes pickets means the guys that are out there just checking. I could be right here and the Yankee could be right over there, and so they would talk to each other, and sometimes, you know, say, hey, Yankees had the coffee and the rebels had the tobacco, so they would trade, and so you always had stuff in there to trade.
Great.
So yeah, because it was still, still tobacco, and they had better coffee, because they would use a lot of chicory, you know, and it's not really good coffee, but so they would always get the coffee from the Yankees, so, or scrounge off of a dead Yankee. So but that's really about it. You know, like I say, this is what we call campaign style. So after a battle, or if we were on the run, and we just, whenever we got tired, we would just get underneath a tree and just sack out. Yeah. Now the Yankees had more. They had the wagon trains, and they had more, so they would always go garrison. They'd always have tents. So, and what we do is, usually one person would have a tent like this if the weather was really bad, but a lot of times it didn't matter. I've slept outside, you know, when it's raining, when it's snowed, so it doesn't matter to me. And a lot of times what they would do is take something like this and if they could get a bunch of trees like that, they would do what they call a lean-to, and that way you get more guys on a lean-to. You get more guys as long as you sleep real close together, or spoon. But just to keep warm.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
so And that, like I say, substituted as a canteen, a plate, and that's what that is there.
Gotcha.
It says 5 because I used to be part of the 5th Kentucky Confederates, but now with the 8th Tennessee.
All right. Thank you.
You know,
Pointy
not-
things, they're not sharp.
the sharp, they usually weren't sharp. You know, they were, a sword for the officers were more of a,
Pointy thing.
yeah,
Go that way.
yeah. It wasn't used really as a
And
weapon very much.
keep the soldiers in line
Yeah.
while they're marching.
So what kind of sword is that?
This is a reproduction of an 1850 foot officer sword. And this one is a reproduction of an 1827 British foot officer sword. One of the men in the unit that we portray, the 8th Tennessee, when the war started, his father presented him with a sword that was almost identical to this, except this has U.S. markings. You can see the U.S. and the eagle. The one that he had, you know, had Confederate markings on it. But this is a British, actually, patterned sword.
So who's the number one that usually carried the swords? Cavalry or officers? Or
Anybody from a lieutenant, officers, lieutenant and up, lieutenants, captains, majors, colonels, generals. Cavalry usually carried a sword, you know, the privates and everybody, but because they were mounted. Regular old sergeants. Foot soldiers, they didn't have much use for a sword because they had a musket and that was their
He
main,
was hiding behind everybody.
Well,
main weapon.
yeah, I
when you
hear
got
you.
attacked by cavalry, we make a little box around him because we have to protect him.
Right.
Because the cavalry would use their swords and they would take blade.
Yeah.
It'll hit you in the shoulder.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But everybody got their teeth?
Oh yeah, most of them.
I got one in the front. That's all you need.
Drop it down.
That was upside down. What you do? I'm trying to figure it out. No, there's too many people watching.
Oh yeah.
I gotta see if this will clear first. He's always got one that falls up.
The older I get, I die quicker.
Or it's usually that or
Or you go underneath a tree. Underneath the shade.
if it's too hot, burn the hole. It'll go off. Just clear it, make sure it.
Y'all deer hunt through right?
I never have.
This one ain't any rifle.
Yeah, that's a smooth bore. We did have a shooting competition a couple of years ago, and I shot that gun, and about 60, 65 yards, you could hit a man-sized target, but you didn't hit where you was aiming.
On the smooth bore, you're saying?
Well, no, on the rifle.
On the rifle, yeah.
Well, we all aimed right at the heart thing, you know, on the targets, and it was down low.
Yeah. Well, it's because it was still. It was too close.
Was that just a known? I mean, that's just close to that.
Yeah. I mean,
Would you know if you high or low you were done? Would you know?
well, the tactics of the day, you know, they lined up and and basically they tried to blast a hole in the line of the enemy, you know, and try to exploit that, you know, either make them run or get a hole blowed in there so they could try to get through.
All right.
Y'all wanna go over there?
All right.
Are they going to shoot each other?
No.
Not today. I
We
don't
gotta order a way of doing it.
I don't want y'all shooting me. You guys are over there on that one. Y'all both are loaded, right? Shoulder. On. Ready. Aim. Fire. Load.
Ow.
One more time. And beginning of the war, both Union and Confederate, something was doing was about 100. You can imagine 100 muskets going off at one time. Then you have the whole regiment. 10 companies. Aim! Fire! Cover! On! Order! On! Order! On! Good job, brother. You're just aiming at what's over there. You're not aiming at a specific target because it's smooth bore and it shoots a round ball. So you may be shooting straight at something, but the ball may go that way. But the tactics were written to, like I said, to blow, line up, shoot a hole in the
That's a
line and try to
69
either
ball.
make the enemy break
This
and
is
run
58.
or,
Another drone.
exploit that hole. Did you grab the other one? Now, during the Civil War,
That's the one that runs.
this musket here and that one over there, this is a 69 caliber. Those are 58.
58.
And they shot a conical ball. They're rifled. So this bullet is more accurate. It's going to spin, and it's just like a football. If you're throwing a spiral football,
That's just the one
you're going to be more accurate. Did you drop it in there?
Yeah. No.
It's going to say.
What'd you do to the other ball?
That one.
The round ball. We don't want to lose them because
So that was why there were so many wounds, and so many casualties during the Civil War because the tactics were outdated
Got it.
for the weaponry.
these guys.
Even
Oh
though
yeah,
they're muzzle loaders,
y'all want to see that?
2 or 3 rounds a minute, if you're lucky, the tactics were outdated. That's why towards the end of the war, there was more guerrilla tactics, more hiding and shooting, more trench warfare, like the trenches around Atlanta, around Petersburg, Virginia, and the Civil War was really the precursor to World War I. Where World War I was fought, trench, basically.
Yeah, they say the French still tried to fight back and start.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, World War II, the Polish still had horses going out.
They say what?
They were still on horses trying to meet the tanks, the Panzer units.
So what's the range of the rifle?
On the smooth bore, accurate, you might be able to hit a man 100 yards away. Maybe. But like I said, the tactics, if there's a company of men over there, there's a 50-man front because there's 2 ranks. There's 50 in the front, 50 in the back, in the rear rank. So if you're 50 on this side and 50 on that side, and you're just shooting at a body, at that mass. Now the rifle, the infields were said to be accurate up to 500 yards. That you might hit. You may not necessarily hit where you're aiming, but you're going to hit pretty close. And that was considered accurate for 1860s.
Them didn't even have sights on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
The front sight kind
It has a front sight like a shotgun, but no rear sight. Because I mean, it's a smooth bore. This gun was preferred by a lot of Confederates because you could shoot more than just a round ball. You could shoot buckshot.
31 caliber.
You could shoot what's called bucking ball, which would be the round ball with 3 buckshot at the same time.
If you got 200 guys here with 15 31 caliber balls coming out, you're going to lay something down on that. So at 50 yards.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Glad y'all stopped.
So, could you explain everything on this table, or?
Well, of course, that's a flintlock. Show you one of my guns. This is why they call it a flintlock. You got your flint.
Mm-hmm.
There's the pan. Okay. Now, when you after you load your chard and you put your flint in here, you know, it's gonna ignite. It's gonna go out.
Mm-hmm.
This one's the same way. Now, this one's a percussion cap. I don't have any caps with me. This rifle came out probably 1830s. They'd load the charge in that percussion cap, but it would pop. And they actually fired a few while ago. And this is my mow. I actually make round balls for my 45 here. And this is a skinning knife, or a fletching knife.
So what is that made out of? Just
This is a deer antler and obsidian. That's basically a flint. And this is how I would dehair my fillet, you know, my get all the meat and stuff. And this is my skinner. I'm gonna actually melt some lead here shortly. They wouldn't let me build a fire, so I got to go period and melt some lead. But I'll get this going.
all right. So you fishing to do some lead?
I'm fixing to melt some lead. Let me walk over here and get my.
All right.
Is that enough?
Huh? Yeah, that should be enough. And I'm going to cheat. I'm going to get this fire going quick.
So about how long does it take to make one? Just one ball. So just.
Well, if I done it the way that it should be done, it takes quite a while. But since I'm advanced and I'm not being, you know, this is not really period correct.
Right.
Well, let's see if we can start a fire the hard way. all your impurities will float to the top. I'm a modernized mountain man with propane. Yeah. Yeah, we'll cheat a little bit.
That's the best inventions engines made one.
Uh-huh. Yeah, making round balls. I'm melting some lead.
Melts it. He pours it.
It'll start liquefying here. And you want your mold hot.
I've never I've seen the other ones out there on the other side, but I didn't know these were here.
What about it there, Ron Bon Jovi?
So it melts at 700 degrees. How long does it normally take to make a ball?
Just a few seconds. Now the first couple will come out bad because the mold has to be, and we'll heat it up.
So the mold has to be heated
The mold
up.
has to be also hot. It's starting to liquefy now. See it? And all your impurities will float to the top. We'll get a good puddle going.
You got a glove?
I'll use them. Help guys.
Keep making the ball. How they are? Huh? Did you ask them to see when the kitchen shoot the candy down?
Yeah, they take some. I was over there watching the pottery.
Go down there.
The what?
They're doing some pottery. I mean, no pottery. Like bases and stuff. I don't know. They got the no, that's okay. Oh, they too, no, that's okay. Are you going to
Uh-oh, there she goes.
Well, I'll look for you.
They get tired of it all.
Welcome walk on this backside.
Down a little bit. I might have to go in my truck. But see how all the impurities rise to the top?
Mm-hmm.
You want all that out.
Okay.
Get all that out. Let me go get a bucket. We'll get all this junk off the top because it's the impurities.
So if you don't get the impurities, then
You might have a bad, your bullets won't.
Your bullets won't what?
I got
They won't
one.
form right. They won't fly right. They won't be accurate.
I got the one. Now there's a pile.
Well, thank you, Naomi. But right there's what you want. See how it's starting to.
Hey, where are you going?
The first couple probably won't come out too good. We'll try it. Smell another one. You don't want that to get on you.
Got that right.
Burn to the bone. We're about ready. That's my secret right home.
How can you tell if you're ready?
It's just see how it starts kind of being real clear. That's what you want for your bullets. How you guys doing? We're melting lead for round balls.
My dad used to do that. He was belonged to the muzzle loading club in Ohio.
Let's see what we got. There you go. And she's hot. We'll make a few. See how it turned out. Get my knife. You could actually remelt the sprue.
Say, that's called a sprue?
Sprue.
Oh, sprue.
And I'll show you something else. We'll make a few and we'll let them cool off. There's still some sludge there. You want it to cool. Let me get my glasses where I can see. And when you would load your rifle, the part that I just cut off is called the sprue. You want to load that up, because if you don't, it's not going to be accurate. But that's a good round ball right there. It's a good one. We'll make a few and put them on this.
You don't see many guys using the 54 caliber though.
No, that's more of an elk caliber.
Because that's what I got, and the one they're using for kill is 50.
You see the sprue, after you cut the sprue off, you can chunk that back in there. And all the impurities though, you want all the impurities. See how it's turning black right there? All that's junk. Let's try to make a few more. Let her cool.